Alright, we're good. Y'all heard the intro. We are about to go live. Well, here's my beautiful face. Here's our normal weekly PowerPoint. Welcome to this week's episode of INDYCARPER. We just got done with a great weekend over in the streets of downtown Detroit. Post Detroit, we're going to Road America next. We got 3 races in a row. Then we'll get a little bit of a break. If it's your first time watching, welcome in. My name is Casey Racem, A.K.A. Hunter. I am your national, well-known IndyCar armchair analyst slash IndyNext armchair analyst. I'm really focused on these two series. We had a race in Detroit, both the IndyNext and IndyCar Series race. We're going to do the recap first, and we got a few news stories I want to talk about, give my opinions, especially with the upcoming TV deal with IndyCar. We'll talk about that. We got a few things to talk about. Um, I'm not going to really talk about Road America. I'll give a little preview between the Indy Next and IndyCar Next race hubs. I'll give a little preview. I don't have any race picks this week. Apologize about that. I kind of put the show together really quickly this week because I'm in the middle of moving. We'll have a better, more organized show with Road America next week. But anyways, welcome in. My name's Casey Racem. Indy Next came back this week after having a couple weeks off. This week, Indy Next was at Detroit. Let's go over the race results. Louis Foster leads from start to finish, gets his second win of the year, goes back to back after winning the Indy Race 2. Cal Collette gets back to back podiums coming in second. Callum Hedge, shout out Callum Hedge, gets his first ever podium here in the Indy Next Series. Congratulations to him. Miles Rowe comes home fourth. Jacob Abel, our current points leader, comes home fifth. First race not on the podium. Reese Gold, who won Detroit Race 1, ends up coming home sixth. Solid run for him. Salvador de Alba in seventh. Josh Pearson, the Ed Carpenter Racing Development driver, he comes home eighth. Jonathan Brown in ninth. Michael D. Orlando, or as I like to call him, Michael D. Orlando, because he's a dog, he comes home, rounds out the top 10. Christian Bogle, so close yet so far, comes home in 11th. Jamie Chadwick comes home 12th. Niels Coolin, the Detroit native. Or no, that's not the Detroit native. Niels Coolin, he comes home 13th. Good old fashioned Euban Sandro Morty. He actually run it. He didn't spin out. He had a decent enough race. He comes up 14th. Rounding out the top 15, you got J. Dub Miller. James Rowe, James Rowe comes home 16th. Nolan Lear 17th. Nolan Siegel didn't have a great race. He comes home 18th. Ends up losing second place in the point standings. Lindsey Brewer, once again, not her year. She comes home 19th. Bryce Aaron, he didn't have a great race either. He comes home, rounds out the top 20. And Ricardo Escado, he DQ'd for the he DQ'd. He was disqualified. He ended up not racing. And the second Hoon Coast car they were bringing out, he ended up going out this weekend. But that's a recap for the race. Nolan Siegel's falling back. I thought he'd wake up, open up. We'll see at Road America. He is the defending winner there too. Now let's go over the point standings, our current top 10. Jacob Abel remains in the points lead. Louis Foster, after 2 back-to-back wins, leapfrogs. He leapfrogs Nolan Siegel to the point, ends up coming home ends up second in points. Nolan Siegel still solidly in third. Cal Collette, Miles Rowe, fourth and fifth, respectively. I'll talk about Miles Rowe later. Callum Hedge still solidly in sixth. Michael D. Orlando solidly in seventh place. He sided with Reese Gold for the seventh position. Ninth place in the point standings, still Jonathan Brown. James Rowe, solidly in 10th, falls down to 10th. Salvador de Alba, 1 point behind. It's a battle for the end of the top 10. That's enough about our next point standings and our race recap. It's time to give out my Casey Racem Indy Next driver of the day. As a reminder, I don't usually give it out to the winner of the race. Usually they're on the podium. Sometimes they're not. This week they're not. It's usually a driver I think had a great race, came from the back to the front, did something like that. Something that's genuinely impressed me during the race. And this week's Case Racem Indy Next driver of the day is Miles Rowe. He started in the back of the pack, started 19th, almost gets the podium, finishes top 4, gets a 4th place finish. He was the biggest mover of the race. So, Bill, congratulations to Miles Rowe. I had multiple chances to give it to him, but this week it was between him and Callum Hedge, but I had to give it to Miles Rowe after starting in the back, coming up in front. That's enough about our Indy Next recap. Next Indy next race up, just a reminder, we're in Road America next week, Sunday, June 9th, 1:05 p.m. Eastern. All Indy next races are streaming on Peacock, so if you have Peacock, why you got nothing to do on a Sunday afternoon, why not watch? See the Xfinity Series or the AAA of the IndyCar Series. These guys are fighting for a spot. And IndyCar, some of the best guys in the series, so you might as well tune in. Maybe Nolan Ziegler goes back to back. Jacob Abel's trying to hold the points lead. Louis Foster's joined the party. Road America, the big 4 mile, one of the best road courses in all of the North America. It's going to be a great race. I hope you tune in. Now we got to do a IndyCar Detroit recap. Let's go over to the race recap. Scott Dixon, death tax to Scott Dixon winning. Scott Dixon wins all the time. Classic Scott Dixon W. Andy takes over the points lead. We'll talk about that. Marcus Ericsson finally gets his first podium with Andretti. He said the season really starts after the 500 in Detroit. He's trying to build up some momentum. A podium does build up momentum. Marcus Armstrong gets his first career podium. So Scott, Marcus, and Marcus. Scott McLaughlin came out in fourth to be Scott, Marcus, Marcus, Scott, but that wasn't the case. I'll be right back. We're back. I apologize if you hear dogs barking in the background. Let's go back and recap the Detroit Grand Prix. Scott Dixon comes home first. Marcus Ericsson gets a great finish. Said the season starts in Detroit after the Indy 500. He didn't have a great start, but now he's starting to rebound. So big old congratulations to Marcus Ericsson getting his first podium with Andretti. Marcus Armstrong getting his first career podium, coming home in third. Shout out to him. Starts 19th, finishes third. I'm not going to give him driver of the day because I gave him driver of the day for the Indy GP. I don't want to give him too soon back-to-back drivers of the day, so we're not going to do that. Kirkwood, 24 laps led, comes home fourth. Solidly finished top 10 in almost every race. So consistency is keeping them in the points fight. Rossi, back to back fourth and fifth at the Indy 500 and at Detroit. Will Power comes home in sixth. Pato Award seventh. Felix Rosenquist still having a solid year with Meyer Shank in his first year. Comes home in eighth, still solidly in the top 10 of the point standings. Santino Ferrucci, but as I said, death tax to Santino Ferrucci. Santino Ferrucci pissing someone off. Santino Ferrucci has this big argument with Andretti. But that's enough. I'm not going to talk about him more. He gets a solid ninth place finish. Dale Pourchaire, back in IndyCar, finishing out the schedule this year. He comes home in 10th place. Lundgaard, almost in the top 10, comes home 11th. Augustine Canapino, we'll talk about who goes Hollinger later. He comes home 12th. P50, Pietro Fittipaldi 13th. Rocket Renus VK still solidly finishes top 15. Rounding out the top 15, you got Graham Rahal. Alex Blow was my pick to win because I thought he was going to go back to back. He comes home in 16th. Jack Harvey, 17th in the Dale Coyne 18th. Tristan Vautier in his return to IndyCar at Detroit. He comes home in 18th. Colton Herta 19th. Scotty Mack, not a great racer, rounds out the top 20. 21st, Stingray Robb, still not a great year for him. Linus Lundqvist in 22nd. Romain Grosjean 23rd. Kiffin Simpson and the four comes home 24th. Elio Castro, he took over that car from Tom Blomqvist for Detroit Road America. From my understanding, it's leader circle. reasoning, but ended up not getting a good race. Comes home 25th. Joseph Newgarden, after winning the Indy 500, comes home 26th. After the points penalty outside the Indy 500, Joseph Newgarden just hasn't been there all day, all together. Hasn't had a full race. Counting Barber at Indy GP and Detroit, he needs to figure this stuff out. I mean, he did just win the Indy 500, but if he wants to win the championship, he's got to get it figured out. And Christian Rasmussen doesn't have a great race, ends up with a mechanical failure, finishes dead last. Now let's go over to the championship standings, and we do have a new points leader. Scott Dixon takes the win and the points lead. Alex Plosa solidly in second. Will Power rounds out the top three. Then you got the two McLaren guys, fourth and fifth, with Pato Award 10 points ahead of Alexander Rossi. Kirkwood been finishing top 10 or top 11 every race, still solidly sixth place in the standings. Herta, his teammate, in seventh. Scotty Mack, Scott McLaughlin still finishes eighth in the point standings after a win at Barber, 1 point ahead of Felix Rosenquist, who is in ninth. And round out the top 10 is our Indy 500 winner, Joseph Newgarden, with Christian Lundgaard heating up on the prowl for him. I picked Scott Dixon to win. I think it's going to be one of the Ganassi boys still, but if Will Power can get a couple wins, he'll be in the fight. But we still got 10 races left. We'll have to see what happens. That's enough talking about IndyCar Series and the point scene. Just a reminder, we do have a driver today too. I said I would have gave it to Marcus Armstrong, but we just gave it to him at Indy GP. Let me catch my breath. So we're not going to do that. We got a different driver I want to give the case racing driver today too. And my criteria is that someone that impressed me going back to front, had a great race, or had a great result that we haven't seen this year. And that's enough. My case racing driver of the day for Detroit and in the IndyCar Series is Marcus Ericsson. He started ninth, finished second, got his first podium with Andretti Global. Something well earned, well deserved. Congratulations to him. Let's finish up the recap with the IndyCar next race up. It's the Expelled Grand Prix at Road America this Sunday, June 9th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. We're on Network NBC. We're not on USA Network. We're not on Peacock exclusively. This is big NBC. Tune in, show out. Let's get these viewer numbers up. I did say wait till Road America and we'll see what the actual audience looks like after the NEGP and see if it was just the NEGP effect or the Indy 500 effect with the viewership. But this is the next race on Big NBC, so please make sure you're tuned in. Outside of that, we got some news stories I want to talk about. Let me catch my breath real quick. First thing I'm going to bring up, Joseph Newgarden, no longer a 2025 free agent. Let's talk about that and some silly season stuff. Newgarden just re-signed a multi-year deal with Team Penske. Rumor I saw is that they looked at the Pato Award deal and Joseph was like, I want something close to that or more, and I think Penske gave him that. Never thought he was going to leave Penske. He's done so much. He's won back-to-back Indy 500s. He's won 2 championships. He's going to be at Penske for a long time, at least till the end of his career. And now that just leaves Aaron McLaren has the 2 biggest seats to fill in silly season because Rossi's deal is up after this year. And that 6 car, we don't know if Teo or Cal. They did say Callum is on the short list. I think Callum will be back next year. Maybe same with Teo. And let's talk about that. Juncos Hollinger and Canapino fans, we saw that. I'm just gonna let me just rephrase this. We saw this last year with a very vocal minority of Argentinian and Canapinos fans sending death threats to Callum Ilott. Nothing happened. They didn't condemn it. Now they're doing the same thing with Teo Porcher because I guess Teo and Augustin Canapino got into a racing incident at Detroit, so now they're sending death threats. McLaren stepped up and said, we're not doing that. And I know McLaren signed a deal with Juncos Hollinger to be in an alliance, basically giving Juncos Hollinger extra money to carry some old sponsors that they can't fit on the cars. They signed an alliance deal, and I'm 90% sure they signed that before Juncos Hollinger straight up released Callum for Romain Grosjean, and I think that's why McLaren signed it because they thought they were getting Callum as an alliance member, but Juncos Hollinger starts the same stuff again. Aaron McLaren says, we don't want it in our series. And I agree. We don't need death threats. We don't need this mean stuff in our series. We don't need death threats because your favorite driver got into an incident with someone and you're sending death threats to said driver. That's not cool. Teo got in a racing incident. It's a racing incident. It's not worth death threats. And that costs you your alliance. And with Roman Grosjean being I'm sorry I got to say this. All apologies, Grosjean. I love Grosjean, but he's kind of a crash magnet at the ovals. And without this alliance, you're going to lose some money, and it's all backfiring on you. I'm sorry. I don't like death threats in my series, and with you got Juncos Hollinger basically denying it, and obviously Campino goes on social and says, I don't know if it got lost in translation, but he's liking tweets saying Callum Porsche or this and that, making fun of it, and then he's like, if I didn't see the death threats and it didn't happen, basically. That's not cool. We don't want death threats in our series. We want good race and this and that, and it costs you your good. It costs you serious sponsorship money because that's what the majority of the Air McLaren alliance was it was them putting sponsors that they couldn't fit on their cars on the Juncos cars. Lost you your alliance, lost you sponsorship money. This ain't gonna affect McLaren at all because I think Prema's saw this. Prema's coming to IndyCar next year. They've been looking for a Chevy alliance partner. I think all they gotta do is go boop, 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 boop. Hey, McLaren, you still looking for an alliance partner? Boom. Prema's the new Juncos Hollinger, get some extra sponsorship dollars. That's all they gotta do. Prema's probably gonna take over that Junco spot as a McLaren alliance partner. But that's not it. We don't like it. No death threats. We want to keep our series fun. We need the viewership. Speaking of viewership, let's talk about the TV deal. It's rumored now that it's between two things. It's between NBC and Fox Sports. NBC is rumored to be offering. NBC has been rumored to offer the IndyCar series, all the races on network television, all 17 races on network NBC. My thing is, network NBC is not the problem. The marketing is the main problem with the series. On the network NBC races, you're averaging between 850,000 to a million viewers. St. Pete got a million. Thermal Club got 850,000. NDGP got around 900,000. And I think Barber got around the same amount. They were all on network NBC. Your bad races are the ones on cable. But if you got the offer to have all the races on network and you marketed the series at least half as much as you do to the 500, the build up to the 500, the whole season, if you market it half as much as you do, with the races on network NBC, you can average your million viewers that you want to average. But if you go to Fox, I'm sorry, but if Fox is offering you more money, they have to make it. It has to be a sizable dent more money than NBC's offering. Because Fox will put all the races probably outside the 500 on FS1 and FS2. And I think putting all majority of the schedule on cable is going to kill the series. I'm sorry. I'd take the NBC deal if you're getting offered the whole schedule is going to be on network NBC. You get off the whole schedule on network NBC without the marketing you're doing now. You're still averaging anywhere from 850,000 to a million viewers just on network NBC. Take that deal. You can do that. Take the NBC deal. If you market your series half as much as you market 500, you're going to get your million viewers that you want. All races, I think all races on cable is better to get a little bit more money to put races on FS1 and FS2. Plus, if you take the NBC deal, we still got Peacock. You can watch race replays. I used Peacock to watch a race replay of Detroit. Race replays are great. But if you take the Fox deal, they don't have something similar to Peacock where you can watch race replays. You'll just have to wait till like 4 in the morning or 2 a.m. to watch a replay of the IndyCar race because they ain't got nothing to show at that time on FS1. You don't get your. I hope IndyCar makes the right choice and doesn't lose the NBC deal where all the races are on cable. Take that deal if it's getting offered, unless you're getting a substantial chunk of money from Fox, like a good 50 to 100 million more dollars than NBC's offering. I'm taking the NBC deal. You can if you can teams can market their races and market sponsors better if you take the NBC deal because teams can be like, oh, we're in a racing series called IndyCar. All our races are being we got the streaming service. All the races will be showed on network NBC, and we got the Peacock app. Teams can use the selling point of all the races are on network NBC to sell sponsors and bring in money for IndyCar. My, NBC's not the problem. I think network races, all season network races, will be fine. But that's enough about my rant. We're gonna go ahead and sign off for today. Remember, follow me on Twitter /X at HJCarp29, HJCARP29. As the great Indianapolis legend Pat McAfee, big influence in my show, says, be a friend, tell a friend something nice. It might change your life. And I'm just going to say, I got an announcement coming within the next few weeks about potential plans for what I want to do with IndyCar and potential live streams and potential guests. We'll talk about that in a few weeks. I got potential plans for the end of the season. We'll have to talk about that. We'll talk about that in a few weeks. Just remember, as Pat McAfee says, be a friend, tell a friend something nice. It might change your life. Thank you for tuning in to IndyCar. New show next week. Recapping Road America and getting ready for Monterey.